Today we'll be covering how to dominate the endgame with each Vault Hunter in Borderlands 3. I'll be explaining the strengths of each character and the many ways you can build them to their maximum damage potential, so you can finally defeat Hot Karl. And let's crack into it. Amara is the master of elements and the master of siren powers, offering up 4 unique abilities that form the foundation of how you play. There's a bit of overlap while bossing for her gun-centered builds, but there's plenty of opportunity outside of that, and we can't forget about her melee potential, which sits highest out of all the Vault Hunters. We'll cover her most standard build first though, and they typically involve Ties That Bind. Ties That Bind is an incredible variant of Phase Grasp where nearby enemies are linked to the locked enemy and receive incredible amounts of damage through them. It is a massive mobbing force in Borderlands 3, providing Amara with instant access to dominate arena combat. Skills like Remnant add to that ease of domination on the mobbing field, and with Indiscriminate added to the mix, Amara's mobbing potential just gets better. You'll see Ties That Bind across many of Amara's builds. Whether you're set up to shoot things with bullets or with fists, Ties That Bind's power is hard to ignore. Although you can sometimes share its link damage to drop bosses comfortably, that's not always an option. So Amara builds tend to lean into something else when it comes to bossing, particularly when you're set up around guns. That's where we often see Phase Casts, simply used to activate the 250% extra weapon damage we get from that particular anointment. There's also the option to use Phase Slam to achieve the same thing, but Phase Cast with its lower cooldown translates better between bossing and mobbing. Where you don't need to rely on this is when you build purely for melee damage. There's plenty of skills in her purple tree where melee is the focus, and you'll also find flat boosts to melee damage in her Fists of the Elements and Brawl trees. It's within these builds where the uniqueness of melee damage is brought to the forefront, where you can use items like the Face Puncher, Fish Slap, Stinger or Blade Fury to punch enemies to death without physically punching them. It's in these builds where the Muse slots in well to provide a nice bonus to melee damage. And with rolls on our artifact and class mod, we can boost that number incredibly high. Of course, like all characters, we have the option of the Unleash the Dragon and Stinger combo with an elemental crit anoint to achieve crazy levels of dot damage. Typically you want to build for cryo damage when you're setting yourself up for melee on Amara, and that's encouraged through her skills also, but this interaction simply can't be ignored. You can also build her to be like Zane, where speed equals damage. You can do that through the Spiritual Driver class mod, and it's here where her maximum damage potential lies. It sits at the opposite spectrum of her typical gun damage builds, where the other end sacrifices some of that damage potential for a less frantic gameplay loop, and that's achieved well with something like the Phase Zerker, which also helps to increase that action skill cycle. Speaking of action skills, your build can just as easily focus on them. They can be your weapon of choice, with her avatar skill allowing you to activate them twice per cooldown, and the Expedite Augment increasing that cooldown. Add the Phase Zerker class mod to the mix and you can increase their damage and further increase your cooldown for each rush that you get. That's generally how you'll want to set yourself when you're looking at making a pure action skill build. But of course, as with every build, there's no single way that outshines the rest. Regardless, you will want to pick up an anointment which increases the damage of your chosen action skill, and getting that on the Guardian is going to maximize its damage potential. Aside from that, Amara's elemental affinity adds a little extra to the gameplay loop. The ease of applying dots helps to stack up a consecutive hits anointment, or the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge. Her infusion skill guarantees that you'll deal elemental damage, which is always better than plain vanilla. And with the point in sustainment, survivability is made easy. On the surface, Flak can look like they're lacking variety. You've got crits and you've got pets, but in actual fact, they are one of the more diverse Vault Hunters to build for, offering up many unique and damaging ways to play. It all depends on your preferred playstyle, and Flak covers a lot of them. One of the more straightforward approaches involves Fadeaway, where the focus is in landing criticals both inside and outside of your action skill. While fadeaway is active, your critical hits will be even stronger, and while inside of it, they'll serve to provide numerous buffs, including increasing its cooldown so you can fade away again. There's two key options when it comes to fadeaway: 3-shot fadeaway, which is the standard one, where fadeaway just lasts for, yes, 3 shots, but the critical damage bonus sits at 200%. It's perfect for one-shot builds or maximizing the damage of powerful single-shot weapons. Fadeaway doesn't discriminate though, with its other option offering up a wider array of weapons, where thanks to the Gorillas in the Mist augment, fadeaway doesn't end until its duration ends, and that lasts for 5 seconds. This is where you can maximize the criticality of all types of weaponry, not just ones that fire slowly. Because you're guaranteed to land crits and fadeaway won't end straight away, it's perfect in combination with the Stackbot class mod, where each critical hit increases your weapon damage. This is where Flak can take advantage of weapons like the Monarch, Tizzy, or Queen's Call, among many others, to deal some unbelievable damage in that fadeaway window. Of course, fadeaway also opens up the option for the while fadeaway is active anointment to increase the damage of your weapons further. Although the Stackbot class mod suits certain builds of fadeaway better, you can never go wrong with the Bounty Hunter. This is a class mod that serves to bolster many of Flak's builds. It's simply a class mod you can't go wrong with. Where fadeaway is largely focused on guns, Rack Attack is where the field truly widens for Flak. Able to cycle your action skill quickly and easily opens up a world of opportunity when it comes to action skill and or start anointments. It allows you to trigger powerful anointments constantly, which elevate your build. Where fadeaway players need to plan on how they're going to achieve that, Rack Attack players can do it with ease. Made even easier with the Rack Accelerate augment, which grants an extra charge and cooldown rate to Rack Attack. Aside from constantly activating anointments, Rack Attack players can make use of one of the more unique class mods in the game, and that's the Peregrine. This class mod straps grenades to your Rack's feet, having them drop it on top of your enemies whenever they dive bomb them. That may not sound like much, but when you build for it, strapping something like the Ghast Claw or Fish Slap to their legs, you'll have free grenades that deal ultimate amounts of damage. Builds like Rack Stab or my Spellcaster Flak build take full advantage of Rack Attack's offerings. Shield effects can be triggered on repeat, and the amount of damage summoned wouldn't be possible without it. Rack Attack simply offers up a lot on its plate. It just depends if you want your build to be gun focused or something more unique. Speaking of unique, whatever build you decide to run on Flak, you're always going to have a pet by your side. When thinking of pets, some great tips to keep in mind is Gunslinger Jabbers are great for hits, Scorching Spider Ants provide great elemental bonuses, and the Warloader excels at dishing out damage. Speaking of damage, to maximize your pet's damage, you'll want to pick up Gamma Burst, which will see you spawn your pet through an irradiated portal where they have grown in size and damage. When you're looking to maximize pet potential, you'll want to switch out your class mod to something that benefits them. The Red Fang is great because your pet will taunt all enemies while Gamma Burst is active, helping with Flak's survivability. And the role reversal will help to maximize its one-shot potential. Pets in general though are a perfect companion, regardless of whether they're at the center of your build or not. Flak can struggle with survivability, but a point and lick the wounds will allow your pet to revive you, going a long way to solving that problem. The bonuses they provide are a great bonus, and the ability to have your pet taunt enemies adds another dimension to the gameplay loop, and potentially a very damaging dimension at that. They're also home to a unique interaction with the Faulty Star Shield and the Take This skill, which will have Novas summon around your enemies whenever they attack your pets. Those Novas receive massive amounts of mayhem scaling, and can easily wipe them off the face of Pandora. I would label Moze as the easiest to build for out of all the Vault Hunters. Explosion noise, am I right? Mr. Torg knows what I mean. When looking at Moze from a very broad viewpoint, you've got two avenues. One that dominates using Iron Bear, or one that dominates using Moze. Both are equally capable of some incredible things. Building for Iron Bear is the easiest. You have a massive arsenal of weaponry already at your disposal. You don't need to farm a lot of gear. You just get in that mech and start shooting things. Whatever you're shooting though, you want to pick up an anointment that increases its damage. This will go a long way to making Iron Bear even more powerful, and there's a few class mods I can recommend also. The Eternal Flame has to be the top of my list. If you have access to Arms Race, then this is a must. This provides you with as close to 100% Iron Bear uptime as you can achieve, granting a chance to reset Iron Bear's cooldown whenever you ignite an enemy. That's pretty easy to do, and therefore high Iron Bear uptime is easy to achieve. If you don't have access to that, then Bear Trooper is the next best thing for keeping Iron Bear active. There's also a couple of class mods you can look at to increase its damage. The main one is the Flare, increasing Iron Bear's damage by up to 100% based on the amount of fuel you have left. Typically you don't need extra damage in Iron Bear, but this is a great way to achieve it. The Flare is what I would run to increase Iron Bear's damage on most of the weaponry. However, if you are using the minigun, then the heat exchanger is better. These bonuses also extend to Iron Cub, which you can definitely build for as well. But don't be surprised if you find Iron Cub to act like a headless 3-year-old with the poopy nappy. Thing just doesn't know where it is or what it's supposed to do. Moving away from the mechs, Moze herself is centered in splash damage. Every avenue branches off from there, as splash is the main source of her power. Obviously that means splash damage weapons are her thing, and you'll often find yourself using them to deal the most damage possible. However, that doesn't mean you have to use them. She has one special class mod, the Minesweeper, to provide a source of splash damage beyond short fuse. The Minesweeper grants a 25% chance for a micro grenade to spawn at the feet of your enemies on any critical hit, with that chance proccing per projectile. That then opens the door wider to her arsenal of weaponry, opening up opportunities to use weapons with high projectile counts or those with a high rate of fire and still excel. Moze can also be built like a tank, coupling skills from the Shield of Retribution skill tree with the Bloodletter and Deathless artifact. Those in combination with her Vampire skill from Demolition Woman provide you with a massive health bar that keeps on topping up. Your shield will get even bigger when you equip the Plus Ultra, or better yet the Madcap with 3 turtle rolls with the Iron Bear Shield Anoint. Or you could forgo extra shields for extra damage and equip the Manuel, slamming to cause it to drain and provide you with bonus shock damage, but it never fully drains thanks to Vampire and the Bloodletter class mod. Not only is she the queen of shields, but she's the queen of ammo, with skills like redistribution and means of destruction, providing ammo regen whenever you hit splash damage or land a critical. That's typically enough ammo regen for most cases, as you're dealing splash damage constantly, as that's where the damage lies, remember, so you won't find yourself reloading very much, if at all. You can achieve if at all by adding the Iron Bank and Forge to the mix, increasing your mag size and providing passive ammo regeneration. Splash damage in this game always trumps regular damage, and Moze has a lot of that coursing through her veins. It's also worth noting, however, that it is on fire. Moze has plenty of skills that increase incendiary damage, and in particular incendiary splash damage. So if you're going up against a flesh health bar, be careful not to slip on the ground from all the drill spilling out of her mouth. Apologies if that was disgusting. Either way, keep in mind that she doesn't need any more fire damage, so look to add another element in there somewhere. One that's easily achieved is URAD whenever you put 3 points in Thin Red Line. This allows us to cap our health at 40% without needing a Deathless artifact or front loader, allowing us to use those slots for the more important damage increasing items. Before we move on, I do want to mention Frozen Snowshoe plus Bloodletter plus Spark Plug equals one of the craziest combinations in the game, only achievable on Moze. Zane is the Vault Hunter that fits the widest array of weaponry. Where Flak screams criticals, Moze is explosions, Amara is siren powers with a bit of the punchy, Zane doesn't penalize you for trying any of that stuff. But that's not to say you can spec randomly and destroy everything, there are avenues where he shines the brightest. How you build depends on whether you have access to Force skill tree or not, and we'll cover the not first. Zane has a load of kill skills, and I mean a load. And without the cannon proccing Seeing Red, you're going to want a way to activate them without killing things, and that's where the Seeing Dead class mod comes in. This class mod gives you a chance to activate them simply by shooting things. With your kill skills sorted, you'll want to work out your anointments. Without the cannon, Zane struggles to activate ASE anointments, and that's where Sentinel Cryo comes in. While the drone's active, you'll gain 100% bonus cryo damage to all of your attacks. Those attacks are then proccing Good Misfortune thanks to the Seeing Dead, which extends the life of the drone. It's a beautiful combination, and one that non-canon Zane largely relies upon. There's another combination though that works across all of Zane's builds, and it's even more important when you don't have the cannon. That is Violent Speed and Violent Momentum. With these paired together, Zane will deal more damage the faster he moves. Couple that with the Snowdrift artifact, and you've got a recipe for destruction. Without DLC, a lot of Zane's damage relies on this, but luckily Zane has a special friend. That special friend looks identical but is somehow more handsome, his clone. Grabbing the Orange Tree Capstone, you'll give your clone a copy of your weapon, and the clone receives massive amounts of mayhem scaling on the gun you give them, allowing it to deal huge amounts of damage that will make you jealous. For any Zane build, the clone is a fantastic option. It can comfortably boss for you, is a great ally while mobbing, and plus makes you feel a little less lonely. If you're thinking about what guns to give them, if it deals great damage in your hands, then it's going to deal great damage in the clone's hands. And especially when you consider the clone doesn't have an ammo problem, making weapons like the Sandhawk absolutely excel. The Grease Trap is another one you have to try out, where you can apply the weapon's buff effect on top of the already mayhem scale damage from the clone. Moving into 4th skill tree now, and the cannon does open a lot of opportunities for us. One of those includes a pure cannon build. It's possible to take advantage of the Unforgiven's massive crit damage boost, in tandem with an anointment that increases the cannon's damage, to have you dominate purely through the cannon in every instance. Where the cannon serves as more of a utility, we can utilize the bonuses of the Executor, which are a kill skill in itself, to gain bonus cryo and crit damage 24/7. With that bonus cryo damage and a few of Zane's skills, you can always throw back to old school Zane where freezing was his thing, using an action skill start Frozen Heart and an icebreaker prefix on your artifact. Outside of that, the Revolter is there, able to be activated with ease. This plus the cannon just accelerates Zane's ability to use just about any weapon to deal considerable amounts of damage. His many gun damage skills, along with skills that boost fire rate and reload speed, can be applied in a general sense across a large array of weaponry. Where that weaponry shrinks but enhances at the same time is when you spec into Eraser and equip his Hustler class mod. The Eraser skill causes any critical hits to spawn an extra projectile much more powerful than the first, and the Hustler allows your splash damage to crit. That's it in basic terms, and when you maximize splash damage and splash radius, this combination will provide the fastest clear times in the game, but that's largely due to the complex root bug on PC. Nevertheless, the Eraser Hustler combination opens a massive door of splash damage potential. It's here where skills like playing dirty come into play, giving you a chance for extra projectiles. Couple that with the Infernal Wish, which adds one of its own, and you can turn Zane into a one-shot beast. Of course, aided by Violent Speed, Violent Momentum, and a Toboggan. You're essentially plugging early game Zane's highest damage potential into the opportunities that the 4th skill tree provides. It's the exact same concept, just able to be executed better. Of course, we can't forget about the barrier, giving us the option of the well-rounded augment to increase our survivability. Although Zane generally doesn't have a problem with that, thanks to lifesteal through salvation. However, the barrier does give us one incredible synergy, and that is with the redistributor. Typically every 7th shot of the redistributor is amped and chains to nearby enemies. However, with the barrier applying amp shots to each of our shots, every single shot will change. It's a fantastic combination, especially in the mobbing field, providing you with something extra you can build around.